Let's go, folks. The Danimal here, and today we are going to be ranking hero packs based solely on their deck building cards that come in the pack. We're going to be excluding the big box expansions like Rise of Red Skull, Galaxy's Most Wanted, Mad Titan Shadow. We're going to exclude them from it. We're specifically just going to be talking about the hero packs, and we're going to do a thing where we break it down based upon the pre-con that these heroes are built with, because that's going to be the majority of the cards in the pack. However, we're going to be looking at the pack as a whole and trying to really highlight the key cards in there that expands the deck building with all the cards. So whether they're basic cards, the aspect of they're built with, or in the back of the pack, the extra bonus cards. So here are our 4 leadership builds when they come pre-constructed. So we're going to look at those and give them a ranking and tell you what we think. First off, we're going to be looking at the Captain America pack, and we're going to be breaking it down in regards to, we're going to start with the allies, just to highlight those, because since those allies are such a strong part of the game, I want to spend time highlighting those. And just a note, anytime you see the word repeat, that means that card is repeated in a different pack. This isn't the only pack you can get that card in. But we got 3 allies here in the Captain America pack. We got Squirrel Girl, Falcon, and Wonder Man. I think these are all solid solid allies to be adding to deck building. Squirrel Girl, with her low cost and her in her response when she enters play, she can do a damage. Really good. Falcon, he can allow you to see kind of cards in the deck, and he has a little bit of burst when he enters play to remove some threat. And Wonder Man, with that big 3 attack, is really cool, but it comes with a caveat of you got to discard a card from your hand to use it. But there's some neat ways to use that. But the simple fact that he's low cost works really well in certain builds. So I think Wonder Man is a good ally as well. Here are some of the key cards in the deck, and I can't state this enough, is the strength and numbers card is vital, to deck building. It is still, strength and number builds are still some of the strongest builds in the game. In the Captain America pack is the only place where you can get that. So basically, what you want to do is build a board state of a bunch of allies, play strength and numbers to exhaust them to draw a whole bunch of cards. And more cards means more resources, which means more options, which means more power. And so strength and numbers is just a super strong card in this game. So anytime I'm approaching a challenge that I'm just fed up and I can't figure out how to do this, and it doesn't even necessarily matter the hero I'm using, I grab the strength and numbers, grab a bunch of low-cost allies, and just go to town, turning those allies into batteries to fuel my hand with a bunch of cards. We also have the Avengers Tower. Specifically, this card is good because it increases your ally limit if you have all Avenger allies. So that is what makes that card particularly good and of interest. And then lastly, Honorary Avenger. This is a staple card when you want to, highlight your Avenger Tower and get all your guys Avengers, but more importantly, it's really good for deck thinning because it's a free card you can just toss. Gives you 1 hit point, but also gives you that Avenger title. And specifically, you can put it on yourself. So give yourself the Avenger trait when you're an alter ego, because as of right now, I don't think there's any heroes that are naturally Avengers in their alter ego state, which prevents you from using certain cards. So again, that card, super solid. All these are key cards that you're going to want to have when building decks. And some honorable mentions, you have Avengers Assemble. This combos pretty well with your strength and numbers build because you get a board full of allies, Avenger allies out there. Use them, exhaust them to draw a bunch of cards, draw into an Avengers Assemble, ready them, and then just go to town with that increased stat buff. And then enhanced awareness. This kind of has a little niche. There's certain builds that really works with, having that mental resource. But it's also repeated in other packs. Honestly, I don't use it that much, but in the decks I do use it in, it is pretty cool. So what is our overall rating of this pack? And I will say this, it is a S tier pack. It is a got to have it pack, mainly because of that one card, strength and numbers, but those other cards that combo off of it, from low cost allies to Avengers Assemble to that Avengers Tower to Honorary, just you gotta have it pack. This is foundational in beginnings of deck building, and it actually makes deck building pretty simple in leadership. Throw a bunch of allies, draw a bunch of cards, and have a good time. Next pack is the Ant-Man pack, and let's look at some of the allies in the Ant-Man pack. We have Ant-Man, Hank Pym, Stinger, Ronin, and Giant Man. In particular, the two main allies that I love in this pack are Ant-Man, which is a 0 cost card, but whatever you spend on him basically becomes his health. So you can spend up to 4 resources to get him in play, or just 1 if you just need to thwart real fast or attack real fast, or just to get him on the board to absorb a hit. And then also Stinger is really solid because she does not count against your ally count. Now note that you have to have the Avenger trait in order to play her, but she can basically increase your ally limit from 3 to 4 by just being on the table and you being an Avenger. So those are the 2 primary cards that are in 90% of my builds. And particularly if I'm building with an Avenger character, a leadership deck, I'm most of the time including Ant-Man and including Stinger. Ronin, Giant Man, they have some cool abilities. I don't use them a whole lot, but they do add a good amount of flavor to the game. Key cards, I would say, in the deck is the team building exercise, which essentially allows you to combo your trait with other trait cards in your hand. So it's almost like a resource generator when you're in hero form, reducing the cost. And most of the time it's going to be used to help you play allies, but in other ways it can help you play Thor's Hammer. It can help you play ants if you're in tiny form, the Army of Ants card. So it's got a lot of uses, and that ends up getting shuffled into a lot of decks, so it's a good deck building thing. And one of the big things that this pack brings to the table is buffing your allies. So trying to keep them on the board is what you want to do, but you want to equip them with these upgrades from Power Gloves to Reinforced Suit. And so these are some cards that you're going to want when you're building your Voltron decks, the decks where you kind of soup up an ally to keep him on the board, where he can every round he's doing a bunch of damage and having a bunch of effect on the board. So now let's move to some honorable mentions. So honorable mentions in this pack is Lay Down the Law. This is, I think, the most cost efficient Justice card in the game right now, where when you flip up, now that's the caveat, you have to flip to hero form. Now Ant-Man, because he can flip between the two different hero forms, that kind of makes this card really good with him. But flipping up, doing 4 threat removal for only 1 cost is really good. Assess the Situation is always a decent card to throw into a deck if you, hey, I'm at like 36 out of 40 cards, I don't know what to throw in. I can throw a couple Assess the Situations in there in order to basically bank a card that I can't use now for the future. It helps you kind of burn through your deck a little bit better, kind of create some synergies, give you a larger hand size, things like that. Moment of Triumph, very niche card right there, but when you're playing an aggression build where you want to try to stay in hero form a lot, this is a way to heal yourself. So these are all pretty solid cards. And so what is my final grade? I would say my final grade for the Ant-Man pack is an A. That means I love this. I love the pack. I love the varieties, particularly Ant-Man and Stinger, the highlights of the pack for me. And so you're going to want those cards for your leadership deck building. And ultimately, so you can combo that with Strength in Numbers, which was in the Captain America pack. So, next pack, we got the Star-Lord pack. Let's look at the allies. We got Cosmo, Adam Warlock, Yondu, and Beta Ray Bill. Honestly, a lot of these allies are niche, and you want to use them in specific builds of what you're trying to do, or you want to make sure you have a hero that has the resources to get these guys on the table. So a lot of these just higher cost allies make it harder to get on the table. Adam Warlock and Cosmo are kind of your main 2 in this pack. Cosmo repeats itself in another pack, but Cosmo is just pretty good. Just any 2-cost ally is pretty good for deck building so that you can get allies on the table, use them. But with the caveat that Cosmo has ways where he can stay on the table if you can kind of predict the card on top of a deck. So Cosmo has some unique deck building abilities as well. And Adam Warlock is really cool because he allows you to basically, every time you activate, he's going to do 4 of something. So 1 thwart, 1 attack, and then he'll do 3 in a variety of different ways. And there's ways to mitigate that. The downside to Warlock is that he does not have a trait that matches Guardian or Avengers. He is aerial, so that's cool, and that can be useful in some builds, but because he does not have an Avenger or Guardian trait or anything like that, it kind of sometimes is a damper on what decks he can be used in. Yondu, he's very expensive, and unless you're buffing him with a bunch of stuff, I typically don't find him worth it. And Beta Ray build, really expensive, hard to get into the game, but when you do, he can do a lot of damage. All right, the next thing are the key cards in the pack. These are the main cards that I think make Star-Lord's pack the best. Is Nowhere, specifically for Guardian builds. It allows you to increase your ally limit, so anytime we can increase ally limit, that is phenomenal. But also, every time you play a Guardian character, you're going to be able to draw a card, and that's not just your hero, but that's anyone at the table. When they play it, you can exhaust your Nowhere in order for them to draw cards, which is really cool. And honestly, maybe the best card in Star-Lord's pack is Blaze of Glory, because it is just a ton of fun where you can just go down to the Blaze of Glory, get +2 thwart, +2 attack for each Guardian character, and really just go to town and maybe try to burn the villain down right at the end, or to try to get yourself out of a jam. And there's some neat ways that card combos, but again, that's just a Guardian only card. And then the CITT guard readies a Guardian character. It's okay. In certain builds it works, but it's okay in certain builds. And then the honorable mention are these 4 cards of each aspect that trigger off the aerial trait. So these cards are neat, but again, these are just very niche. You're going to want to have aerial characters, and not every hero can be an aerial character. And in a lot of builds, these cards don't work the way you need them to at a particular time, unless you're kind of building around these cards and expecting them to work in a certain way. So you can do some fun builds with them, but honestly, they're kind of like hit or miss for the most part. Ever Vigilant, I think, is the most important one, because it allows you to ready your hero and remove threat, which is something really difficult for a protection player to do, is to remove threat. And so I do think that one is the best one of the aerial traits. And so what is my overall grade for this one? My overall grade is a C, and a C just means it's niche. A lot of his cards are very niche and a very specific build you're going to want to be building. And it's a fine pack. I don't hate it, but this pack is not a gotta have it pack for me. It's just a lot of cards that I don't really use a whole lot, or I only use them in certain builds. The next pack here is War Machine. So the War Machine pack comes with these allies: Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and we got repeat of Falcon and a repeat of Goliath. Goliath was in the Rise of Red Skull campaign box, so you may already have him if you have some of these. So these are large cost allies, but they do some pretty cool things when they interplay, like Black Panther can go get you a leadership card that attaches to him that you can kind of play as if it's in your hand. And Captain Marvel, she can come in and burst like a whole bunch of damage and maybe even stun the enemy. But she's kind of expensive, but pretty cool. There might be some cool ways in this pack to do that, and there are, which is the key cards to this whole deck. And one of the reasons why I love this pack for these reasons, is because of these cards. It's kind of the in and out strategy with your allies. Like, hey, we want to sneak attack these characters just into play so that we can use them up, use their interplay ability, and then go down swinging or save the day to get attacking or thwart out of it. And then you have the command team, which I like better than the get ready card, because you can basically just keep the command team on there. And it's basically a get ready on a stick. So whenever you need to get that ally ready, you have it, and you don't just have to luck up and have the get ready card in your hand at the time. So cool deck here. And then we have the honorable mentions, which are the Sidearm, the Quinn Carrier, As One, and Stand Together. Quinn Carrier is a repeat from some of the other packs. So I think we have like 2 other packs that has a Quinn Carrier in it, which provides a resource, but a super solid card. I mean, it's a great card to have. One of the honorable mention cards that I think is really good in the back of the pack is the Sidearm. So the sidearm gives you +1 attack to your allies and they gain range. So that is a great way to get around Retaliate, because Retaliate is the worst for your allies because it kills them so quickly. So being able to get a sidearm on them just makes it, helps them to avoid that and get more usefulness out of your allies. And then we have these 2 alliance cards that I think are pretty neat. But again, this is more so for not solo players, but more of a team, 3-4 players, where they highlight, because the alliance cards can be played by the group together. You pay the resource cost, and it can be used to really save you in a pinch with that stand together, or deal some pretty cool damage with as one. So ultimately, what do I rate this pack? I rate this pack an A. I love it. I love the new strategy of the in and out allies, and cool way to get these big stat allies, these allies that cost a lot, into play, and then use them up real fast, and then they leave play. So I love this pack. So finally, what is my overall ranking of packs based on which ones I think is best? I think Captain America is the best and the gotta have it category. Then I would get Ant-Man, then I would get War Machine, and then I would get Star-Lord. And again, this is solely based on the deck building cards in there. Now, there is the caveat of I would switch Ant-Man and War Machine if you think you would like the in and out ally strategy better versus the upgrading ally strategy. So those 2 and 3 are real close, but Star-Lord, he's by far the last leadership deck you want to get, because his cards really are niche to what you're trying to do and to deck building. So that is my grade for that.